welcome to our Play Well podcast series. My name is Marguerite Hunter-Blair and I am Chief Executive of Play Scotland, the national organisation for play. Today we will look at the importance of policy and partnerships for play. To explore this, we will hear from Audrey White. Audrey is the Education Support Officer for the Children and Family Service, Dundee City Council. She has a degree in physical education and she is passionate about improving the health and well-being of children and young people. Audrey is particularly interested in how play, physical activity and enjoying the outdoors can support children and young people to make healthy choices. Here is our Head of Projects, Cherie Morgan, catching up with Audrey White.
Hello Audrey, thanks for joining us today. Can you please introduce yourself and say a bit about what play means to you?
Yes, thanks, Cherie. So I'm Audrey White. I'm the Education Support Officer for Health and Wellbeing for the Children and Family Service within Dundee City Council. So I've always valued play, particularly in the early years. However, the more I've researched and learned about play, and I view it as being, a fundamental part of a child's, a young person, an adult's life. We should always keep playing. So for me, play is central to children's happiness. It's about their overall health and well-being. Now, whether that is their physical, mental, social or emotional well-being, it's about building resilience, a skill for life. And also, because of all the work that I'm doing around, nurseries and schools in the city, play is a key element in effective learning. And finally, as a parent of two boys, I personally value the right of a child to play. I see firsthand the need, for children to play and how happy they are when they're outside, they're playing with friends and they're just having fun.
You said there that you work for the council. Can you tell me a bit more about Dundee Council's approach to physical activity and play?
Dundee is a great city with created, committed professionals in all sectors. And I think because of that, it's been a great journey in terms of the development of play across the city. So I would say that from the outset, the relationships have been key and we've been really fortunate to have an incredible team of professionals from a wide range of sectors involved at various levels to improve play opportunities in the city. So our journey started strategically about 6 years ago when the Dundee Partnership, which is the local community planning partnership, approved the need to develop a play framework which was aligned to a wider physical activity strategy for the city. So I was privileged to be asked to lead in developing the Dundee Play Framework on behalf of this Dundee Partnership. So in essence, we established a wide range of key stakeholders from across the sectors and also our national partners, which is, yourself as Play Scotland and also Sport Scotland. And, we facilitated a number of workshops with our stakeholders to get to the stage of, having a kind of outlined framework ready for engaging, with the wider local communities. So our play framework is, in terms of the high level, really looks at 4 key areas. And the first one being play at home, then play at nursery and school and childcare settings, play in the community, and then about the governance and leadership of play, because if you don't have that right, you don't really land it and it can, not actually be implemented. So it'll come as no surprise to you that these align with the National Play Strategy priorities as well. But we found the National Play Strategy really helpful for us to, frame how we want to take this forward. So from the development of the strategy, we managed to get it approved at committee level within the council with elected members. And then we established a play leadership group with the key stakeholders from the council, the NHS and the third sector to deliver on the framework outcomes. And Play Scotland have been a significant support to us all the way through this process. An important aspect of the process was to establish robust accountability and reporting mechanisms, which we achieved by reporting regularly to the Children and Families Executive Board of the Dundee Partnership. And then on top of that, we have a delivery plan with clear actions, responsibilities, and we are accountable for those actions and reporting on them to the Executive Board and also at committee level to our elected members.
So in a very simple way, how can you make play important to everybody? How can you get it on people's agendas?
I do think that we need, as a local authority, you need to align play with the either health or education priorities. You need to align what you're doing with other priorities. And what we've done, we've aligned it with mental health and also child healthy weight. We'll probably align it with poverty as well moving forward. So it's really important because play is not going to probably win on its own.
Itself, yeah.
It's not going to. So we need to be able to align very clearly play with the priorities that are in the council's plans, whatever council you are in. So whether that be a health priority, an education priority, a poverty priority, climate change, whatever it is, we need to align them together, and for those other partners to see the contribution that play can make to achieving their outcomes.
You've summarised really well there the planning at a strategic level, and Play Scotland has been really delighted to be a part of that work and to see your journey. Can you give me an example of what has worked well in Dundee, and the ground, as it were?
For me, in schools, for sure, it's about evidencing the impact. And what we've managed to do in Dundee is that whatever we do around play, we've got clear measures around if we're going to use it as an intervention, we need to know what it is we're measuring. So we call this a collaborative action research or action research. So everything we're doing, we're targeting a small group of children and we're measuring the impact. And when you've got evidence of impact, it's a stronger, powerful story to then tell other people, because there's evidence. So without evidence, you don't really, it's fluff. You need to have evidence to say this is how it's improving outcomes for children. So a particular one that comes to mind is our work with a third sector partner called Scrap Antics. And this has all been around, in the main, our work in schools. And just a bit of context behind Dundee, because we have really high levels of poverty. And, because of that, many of our schools have identified that children's social and emotional development is a school, improvement priority. So we've therefore aligned our work within the play framework with schools' priorities, and we've promoted loose parts play as an intervention to improve children's social and emotional development. So our current, partnership is quite unique with the third sector partner Scrap Antics. And we have jointly planned and delivered a sustainable model in schools whereby teaching staff become confident and skilled to be able to deliver loose parts play as a health and wellbeing intervention or as a context for learning as part of a 16-week programme. So this year alone, we've been doing things over the past few years, but just a snapshot of this year alone, Scrap Antics and myself are working directly with 14 primary schools, which is about 43% of the city's primary schools, to support teachers who are taking on a leadership role in loose parts play. So all these leaders are undertaking action research with their classes to measure and evidence the impact of loose parts play on their learners, with the end outcome of scaling and spreading the interventions across more classes in their school. And we're really excited about a recent partnership with a Dundee secondary school that's testing loose parts play. And the early evidence from this work is really promising, with improvements in young people's attendance and engagement with school. And actually in the secondary, they've just been inspected and they've had positive feedback about the play interventions within their school. So we're really getting some good evidence around all the work that we're doing within primaries and the start of that secondary school in relation to loose parts play. And it's particularly related to improvements in children's social and emotional development. I think the key thing here is about partnerships. And as a council on their own, we could never have achieved this without the partnership that we've got with Scrap Antics and about that close planning relationship. I think the other thing to say is that working with a third sector organisation, they've got a flexibility of approach, they can attract additional funding, and also that expertise and knowledge in child-led play. So it's been really, really positive.
So what sort of barriers have you faced, if any, to delivering the schools programme?
Yeah, I think it's about, I think we're all so busy, and I think, due to COVID as well, I think we've all become even busier. So I think it's about capacity and time to lead on the programmes, and also, I think the understanding the pressure on schools in terms of their capacity and time to commit. Funding, we've been okay this year. However, we know that funding is definitely going to be an issue, moving forward, because of the cuts that all the councils are facing. So that's going to be an area, and that's why we need to really always think about making our models as sustainable as possible. So that is why we're really trying to invest in working with teachers, so they can then train up the other teachers in their school. And then the other thing for me is that an area where, not specifically on the schools programme, but an area where I'm finding it's really difficult to get traction in is play in the community strand, because there seems to be less people able to lead on this aspect of the play framework. So I think that really needs to be explored more about how can we work better with the community partners to support them to improve our play opportunities for children and young people.
Yes, because I think it is really important, particularly in light of COVID, sort of to try to build up people's confidence again to come out into their communities to play. But you do need these community leaders, community play champions almost, to come out and lead that work, so that parents and families feel again that confidence about getting out and about. So it'll be interesting to see how you get on in that aspect. So what other approaches have you rolled out, and how successful have they been?
Yeah, we've got a number of streams of work, and again, I'm probably more focused on schools and nurseries. So if we look at nurseries in particular, over the last few years, we have successfully rolled out Play on Pedals to our local authority nurseries. And, we've managed to get funding from Cycling Scotland as well to achieve that, to purchase the balance bike and the pedal bikes as well. So as an authority, we set a target of 30% of preschool children being able to ride a bike, by the end of the intervention. And we're keeping the intervention going because it's going so well, and the children are absolutely loving it and really feeling they're achieving. We are finding that we have well over exceeded this target, with a lot more children than 30% within each nursery being able to ride a bike by the time they finish their preschool year. So we're really delighted with this, because that for me is a skill for life, being able to ride a bike. So we're certainly making progress on that. And the next step, taking that forward, is really how can we engage with families so that maybe they can hire out bikes and teach their child to ride a bike in the community.
Play on Pedals is a really great intervention. I'm familiar with it, and it's absolutely great to see the achievement and the confidence that young children get from that, learning to pedal and fun on a balance bike. And that's great to hear that something's happening in early years. Is there other things that are happening further up the school? What about play in primary one or further up? Have you got anything that you're doing in Dundee?
Yes, actually, we've been working for the past 2 years on really considering our approach to play at primary one. And what we've been finding across the city, there's been kind of inconsistent practice, and we've got a range of professionals with a diverse range of beliefs around how play should be included in terms of the curriculum at primary one. So we created a core working group and of key educational professionals and educational psychologists, and with our primary one practitioners as well, we've worked together to create a Dundee standard for a developmentally appropriate curriculum at early level, which is, your typical primary one learner. Really what we're trying to achieve here, that we do need to get consistency across the council about what is it we're looking for at primary one, so it helps everybody understand where play fits within the curriculum. So basically, this Dundee standard, in its simplest form, promotes the need for all early level learners to receive a balance of direct teaching, guided learning, and also free play. So this Dundee standard, we've been working on it for 2 years, and it's just been launched to all the head teachers, and it's received excellent feedback. I think they've been looking for something just to articulate what it is we're meaning. And all the primary one teachers are currently involved in a CLPL training programme, engaging in professional dialogue on how to implement the Dundee standard in practice in their own setting. And I think the really good thing about having this framework, it's a local framework, it's just for Dundee. We've now got a framework in place on how to plan for play as part of a balanced approach to learning and teaching in school. And this is a huge step forward, as I suppose it gives teachers and leaders in school, permission, and I say this loosely, to include play as part of their context for learning. So, I think it's really helped a bit of clarity around play within this city. Now, it's early days, we've got a lot of work to do around it, and that's why we've got a suite of training to go along to support it. And I think by having that professional dialogue, I think it's helping us to, learn and develop as we go as well. Another success of the play framework has been the opening of the school playgrounds. And again, this is about partnership working with communities officers, community safety, neighbourhood services and Tayside contracts. We have successfully opened 18 school playgrounds to the community after school, at the weekends and during the school holidays. We have had vandalism. However, there was vandalism before the gates were opened. So overall, we're seeing no increase since we opened the playgrounds. And more importantly, more children and young people can stay and play in an environment that they feel happy and safe to be in. And a key success of this is that any plans for any new school builds will have the opening of the school playgrounds built into their design. So we've actually managed to change policy as part of that piece of work. So that was really successful.
It's really exciting to hear all the things that you're doing in Dundee and how you're really making play high in the agenda and a priority for everyone. And those developments that you've spoken about there are going to make a real difference to children and young people growing up. I'm familiar with opening school playgrounds. We've featured it in some of our publications in terms of a really good way to have parents build confidence on enabling their children to go out to play. So thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. Is there anything else you'd like to share about play in Dundee or about how your vision for the future might develop?
I think one other area, which is our neighbourhood services and environment team, I think a huge credit needs to be given to them because, we work so closely with this team of individuals and they're responsible for all play spaces across the city. And, they, as part of the play framework, have undertaken an audit of all the play spaces and now they've got a strategic approach for the maintenance, the development, and removal, in some cases, of play spaces across the city. But one recent development, which we're particularly proud of, is our first ever in Dundee dual-use school and community play space at Rowantree Primary School. And this is an area where 80% of the catchment of the school is in the highest levels of deprivation. And the outcome for them is they now have the best play space attached to school in the whole city. So I think what I'm trying to say there is that by working really closely with the environment team, our neighbourhood services, we're really managing to join things together and really connect the local children, the communities and the council officers all together and create really good play spaces that are shaped and designed by the children involved and that live in the community. So this is really, really positive.
That's taken us full circle right round to partnerships again and how important it is that you all work together for this shared agenda. And I really appreciate you coming on to share that with us and actually just the positivity and the effort that you put into driving the work forward. Because I know that sometimes with all the other things that are priorities too, that it can be quite hard to get play seen high up the agenda. So well done on that and your work in Dundee. And we look forward to seeing how much more you do and sort of how the work goes forward. So hopefully we'll chat again at some point in the future about what you're doing next. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for joining us on this podcast. Next time, we will be looking at play and youth work. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your preferred app and join the conversation by using the hashtag PlayWellPodcast. And to find out more about Play Scotland, follow us on Twitter at Play Scotland and visit our website playscotland.org.